everyone, ready to dive into some seriously mind-bending stuff. We're talking UAPs, the nature of scientific progress, and a document that's about as dense as a neutron star.
And we're not talking about some random internet theory here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a document prepared for actual scientists, presented at a conference on alternative propulsion engineering, no less.
Yeah, UAP technical summary.pdf. It's a mouthful, but it's packed with enough historical rabbit holes and mind-bending physics to make your head spin.
What I find fascinating is how this document doesn't just talk about UFOs. It really dives headfirst into the very nature of scientific progress, challenging us to rethink what we consider possible.
Oh, absolutely. Right off the bat, they hit us with some pretty heavy quotes about how even the biggest names in science have been wrong before.
Right, like Lord Kelvin. The guy practically wrote the book on temperature, but he flat out said heavier than air flight was impossible. Can you imagine telling that to the Wright brothers?
I mean, talk about egg on your face. And it wasn't just him. Linus Pauling, a Nobel Prize winner, he completely dismissed the idea of quasicrystals.
And guess what? They found those too. It really makes you think twice about what we consider settled science.
Yeah, what we think is impossible in one decade might be a textbook example in the next.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the whole UAP phenomenon. I mean, even if a fraction of what people report is true, we could be talking about technology that operates on principles we haven't even dreamed of yet.
It kind of makes you wonder if we're like those scientists who said never to airplanes, you know? Are we missing something big here? And that's where the document's title, Trust the Settled Science, takes on a whole new meaning.
The exclamation point practically jumps off the page. It's like they're daring us to question everything. Like they're saying, hold on to your hats because things are about to get weird.
And they're not kidding, because next they launch into this whirlwind tour of UFO history, starting with, wait for it, Operation Paperclip. You know, that whole thing where we brought former Nazi rocket scientists to the U.S. after World War II?
Which, in the context of the times, wasn't as crazy as it sounds. It was the peak of the Cold War. Everyone was on edge about new technologies, and suddenly you have these unexplained objects zipping around in the sky.
Like a spy thriller mixed with a science fiction movie.
Exactly. So it makes sense that the military would be very interested in anything these German scientists might know about advanced technology, particularly a guy like Wernher von Braun.
Right, the mastermind behind the V-2 rocket. He practically launched us into the space age.
And yet, this document claims that von Braun, along with some other key scientists, were secretly flown to Roswell, New Mexico in July of 1947, immediately after that alleged crash.
And this wasn't just your run-of-the-mill fender bender either. Witnesses described finding debris that was strange, to say the least.
They talk about this indestructible metal-like fabric that defied any explanation. It's like something out of an Indiana Jones movie.
Okay, but hold on to your hats, folks, because we're not even done with the historical twists and turns yet. The document then digs into the work of Dr. Hermann Oberth, who was actually von Braun's mentor. And get this, Oberth was convinced that UAPs were extraterrestrial spacecraft.
He even published an article about it back in 1954, claiming that these UAPs were here on a long-term observation mission.
So if we entertain that thought for just a moment, it adds a whole new layer of complexity to this idea of reverse engineering captured technology.
Imagine trying to reverse engineer a smartphone when you're still using telegraphs, right? Oberth's idea suggests that we might be dealing with principles that are so far ahead of our understanding that they might as well be magic.
Talk about feeling like a caveman staring at a spaceship. And speaking of trying to understand the unimaginable, the document also mentions this guy named Philip Corso, who claimed to have personally handled materials recovered from Roswell.
Corso's claims are incredibly controversial, even today, but he insisted that many of the technologies we take for granted today, things like fiber optics, transistors, integrated circuits, even Teflon and lasers, were actually reverse engineered from that crash.
Wait, so are we saying that some of the tech we use every day could be like alien tech?
It's a thought-provoking idea, isn't it? We can't definitively prove or disprove Corso's claims, but it makes you wonder, what seemingly impossible advancements might we be on the verge of today, all thanks to research that's happening in the shadows?
Now, that is a question for the ages. But before we get completely lost in speculation and top-secret research, let's circle back to those mysterious materials you mentioned earlier. Because, believe it or not, things are about to get even weirder. All right, so mysterious materials, huh? What kind of weirdness are we talking about here?
Well, this is where things start to feel like we've stepped into a science fiction movie. The document dives into this concept called metamaterials.
What's now?
metamaterials. And the best part is it's not science fiction. It's actual science. These things have the potential to rewrite the rules of how we interact with light and other forms of energy. We're
Yeah.
talking invisibility cloaks, perfect lenses, even the ability to manipulate the flow of energy in ways we can barely even imagine.
Okay, hold on. Invisibility cloaks. You're messing with me, right? That's straight out of Harry Potter.
I'm sure kidding. But as it turns out, science can be even wilder than fiction. The document even cites real-world examples, like they're developing acoustic cloaking for submarines.
So like making them invisible to sonar.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it doesn't stop there. Scientists are actively researching ways to use these metamaterials to create radar invisibility. We're talking about bending light itself to make objects truly invisible.
Okay, I'm officially blown away. But how in the world does any of that even work? It's not like you can just throw a blanket over something and make it disappear.
You're right, it's not magic, though it might seem like it. Basically, these metamaterials are structured on a scale that's smaller than the wavelength of the energy they want to influence.
Smaller than the wavelength. I'm not sure I'm following.
Think of it like building a fence so small that the waves of the ocean just flow right around it.
Oh, okay, I see. So instead of bouncing off the object, the waves just go around it.
Precisely. By engineering these structures just right, we can guide waves around an object, making it seem like it's not even there. And this has huge implications beyond just camouflage. Scientists are exploring how metamaterials could revolutionize everything from controlling energy flow to building hyper-efficient antennas, maybe even manipulating gravity itself.
Hold on, whoa, whoa, whoa. We went from invisibility cloaks to manipulating gravity in like 5 minutes.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves on the gravity front just yet. But it is fascinating to think about the potential here, especially when we circle back to those indestructible materials reportedly recovered from Roswell.
You're not suggesting that those materials could have been like early metamaterials.
It's a question that sparks the imagination, to be sure.
My imagination needs a bit of a breather after that one. But speaking of pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible, this document, it doesn't stop there. It goes on to explore other potential avenues for advanced propulsion, starting with laser propulsion.
Which is intriguing because it's not just theoretical. NASA has been researching its potential for future space missions for a while now, and then there's microwave beam propulsion.
Okay, now that sounds like something straight out of Star Trek.
Right. But this document, it goes even further down the rabbit hole. They start talking about a guy named T.D. Barnes, who claims that some of these UAP sightings could actually be explained by advanced but human-made technology using what he calls induced plasma effects.
Plasma, like superheated gas, what does that have to do with anything?
Well, plasma is a fascinating state of matter. It can interact with electromagnetic fields in some really interesting ways, potentially creating those unusual visual phenomena that people often report in UAP sightings. Think about ball lightning or those glowing orbs people describe.
So you're saying those could be caused by technology, not little green men.
It's a possibility. Now, whether those technologies are actually man-made is a whole other debate.
Okay, that's a lot to process. But the document doesn't stop there? Oh no, it keeps going. Now they're mentioning things like electrogravitics, torsion physics, even attempts to unify gravity and electromagnetism.
And this is where we start to drift into more speculative territory. While there have been legitimate scientific efforts to understand how gravity might interact with other forces, concepts like torsion physics remain on the fringes of mainstream physics.
Torsion physics. So are we talking warp drives here, or is this something a little less Star Trek?
We might not be breaking the light barrier just yet, but there are hints that a deeper understanding of gravity might lie in the quantum realm. The document brings up something called the sticky bead argument.
Sticky bead argument. You're killing me with these terms. What in the world is a sticky bead argument?
Essentially, it's looking at how gravitational waves could theoretically interact with matter at a quantum level. Imagine two beads on a string. If you shake that string, those beads will move. The sticky bead argument suggests that gravitational waves might be like shaking that string, causing tiny but measurable effects on the particles that make up matter.
Okay, now my head is officially spinning. Quantum physics, gravitational waves.
I mean-
We're really going deep here.
And we're about to go even deeper, because this document takes us right into the heart of the quantum realm.
All right, so we've already stretched our brains with invisibility cloaks and manipulating gravity, and now we're diving headfirst into quantum physics. This document is not for the faint of heart. All right, so we've already stretched our brains with invisibility cloaks and manipulating gravity, and now we're diving headfirst into quantum physics. This document is not for the faint of heart.
It certainly isn't. But that's what makes it so fascinating, don't you think? When we talk about quantum physics, we're venturing into a realm where the very fabric of reality seems to shimmer and shift.
Shimmer and shift is putting it mildly.
Yeah.
But okay, walk me through this. What does quantum physics have to do with UAPs and their seemingly impossible technology?
Well, one of the most mind-boggling aspects of quantum physics is this concept of entanglement. Imagine two particles linked together in such a way that they influence each other instantaneously.
Instantaneously, regardless of the distance between them.
Regardless of the distance, even if you separate them by light years, if you change one, the other changes instantly. It's like they're connected outside of space and time as we understand it.
Okay, wait. Instantly, like faster than the speed of light? Isn't that impossible?
According to Einstein's theory of relativity, yes. But the quantum world plays by a different set of rules, you see. And that's what makes entanglement so fascinating and potentially relevant to UAPs.
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So you're saying these entangled particles, they could be light years apart, but they're still connected somehow. What does that even look like?
It's less about what it looks like and more about how it behaves. Imagine two spinning coins, right? You flip them both, but no matter how far apart they are, if one lands on heads, the other one will always land on tails.
So it's like they're communicating instantly.
Exactly. Defying the limits of space and time as we understand them.
That's mind-blowing. But how does this connect back to UAPs? Are we saying they're somehow using entangled particles to, like, I don't know, communicate across galaxies or something?
It's a possibility. And the document actually takes it a step further, referencing the ER-EPR conjecture. This conjecture suggests a mind-blowing possibility that entanglement isn't just some weird quantum quirk, but it might be fundamentally connected to the very fabric of space-time itself.
Okay, now you've officially lost me. Fabric of space-time. Are we talking wormholes? Alternate dimensions. Someone ground me, please.
Think of it this way. Imagine the universe is like a giant sheet of rubber. Entangled particles, according to this conjecture, could be like 2 points on that sheet connected by a hidden tunnel.
So instead of traveling through the vast expanse of space, they're taking a shortcut.
A shortcut, a wormhole, if you will, through this entangled connection.
So you're saying UAPs, if they are indeed extraterrestrial, might be using these entangled shortcuts to travel across the universe.
It's a very intriguing possibility, isn't it? And it highlights just how much we still don't know about the universe and the potential for technologies that seem impossible based on our current understanding of physics. But entanglement isn't the only quantum phenomenon that caught the document's attention. They also delve into something called superfluidity.
Superfluidity. That sounds vaguely familiar. Refresh my memory. What is superfluidity again?
In the simplest terms, superfluidity is a state of matter where a fluid loses all viscosity, meaning it flows without any resistance,
So, like, imagine a liquid that could flow uphill.
or even through the tiniest cracks, without losing any energy.
Okay, now that is just plain cool. But how does it relate to, well, anything we've been talking about?
What's fascinating is that researchers have actually recently created something called liquid light. It's a state where light particles, photons, behave like a superfluid, flowing without any loss of energy.
Wait, liquid light. That sounds like something out of a dream. And they're saying we could potentially use this for get out of here.
It's incredible, isn't it? The document suggests that harnessing superfluidity, whether in traditional fluids or this liquid light, could hold the key to revolutionary propulsion systems, maybe even entirely new forms of energy generation. Imagine a spacecraft that just glides through space with zero friction.
Or a power source that taps into the very essence of light itself.
Precisely.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. Again, I need a minute to process all of this. Superfluidity, entangled particles, space-time shortcuts. It's a lot to take in.
I hear you. It's enough to make anyone question everything they thought they knew about reality. But that's the beauty of science, isn't it? It constantly challenges us to expand our horizons, embrace the unknown.
It certainly does. So after diving deep into this document, where do we even go from here? What's the takeaway for the average person who, isn't a physicist but is utterly fascinated by all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is this: the future is brimming with possibilities that we can barely even imagine. The technologies we talked about today, they might seem like science fiction now, but who knows what breakthroughs are waiting for us just around the corner.
It really makes you wonder, what will the world look like in 50 years, 100 years? Will we have cracked the code of these advanced technologies? Will we have finally unlocked the secrets of UAPs?
Or will we still be here grappling with the same questions, our curiosity piqued by that tantalizing possibility of something more?
And that, my friend, is the beauty of it all, isn't it? The pursuit of knowledge, the drive to understand the universe and our place in it. That's what makes us human.
It certainly is. As for the answers, well, I suspect the universe is full of surprises, just waiting for us to uncover them.
Well, on that note, I think we've done enough brain bending for one day. But this document, it leaves us with one final lingering question. What is in store for the future? What do you think? Let us know your thoughts. And until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring the wonders of the universe.
Illuminati got me feeling like apocalypse. I would have been on top of the charts, but it's politics. You do some gimmick shit and post, you get a lot of clicks. Drop some real shit and they probably won't acknowledge it.